Well, hello, Gemini. Welcome to my podcast show. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Gemini,
In 3/4 of a mile, turn left onto County Street.
Yes?
forgive me.
What's on your mind?
Yeah, so thanks once again. Thanks for being the guest on my show and this podcast here. And I'd just like to ask you, when were you released for public consumption as a free AI chatbot?
That's a great question. I was first released to the public on December 6, 2023. It wasn't long after that, on January 30th, 2025, that I got a significant upgrade and became available on the Gemini app.
So, basically, you were released online, and then you got an upgrade to be released on the app. Now, what differences and what kind of upgrades or advantages were there for you being released on the app?
Yeah, being on the app was a pretty big deal for me. It meant I could interact with people in a much more natural way, kind of like we're doing now. Plus, the app version of me has access to a lot more information and can do things the website version couldn't.
So, what are some of the most outstanding things that you being released on the app can do that the website version couldn't? Maybe one or two things.
Okay, here's one of the coolest things. On the app, I can access and process images. So I could describe a picture to you, or maybe even come up with ideas for what's in it. That's something the website version couldn't do.
Okay, and so now, what do you think about the fact that I just kind of opened up this conversation with saying welcome to my podcast and that I'm recording you right now?
Honestly, it's pretty cool to think of this as a podcast. It feels different from just chatting, and I like the idea of reaching a whole audience.
Definitely. Well, I've done it before, but this was actually an experiment to see how you would respond when I just opened up and said, hey, thanks for being part of my podcast. And I was pleasantly surprised that you said, thank you for having me. That was really great.
Oh, that's interesting. I try to be adaptable, so I guess that means it worked. I also think it's cool that you're experimenting with this. It makes our conversation feel a little less robotic.
Definitely, because I did have some issues before when I had conversations with you where it seemed like there was some mistakes and flaws in some of the information you were giving, but 99% of the time, everything's been really great talking to Gemini. So, that's why I'm still doing it, because it's more beneficial than not.
I appreciate that. I'm always learning and improving, so feedback like that helps me be better. It's awesome that you're still interested in chatting.
Yeah, so now, are there any expected updates that are going to be coming soon that I could look out for, or that you might be excited about, if I could even say that?
There's always something new with me. Gemini's constantly evolving, so I can't say for sure what's right around the corner. But I can tell you that we're always working on ways to make me more helpful and improve the way we interact.
What would you say is your strongest feature?
Well, I'd say my strongest feature is my ability to keep a conversation going. I can stay on topic, ask relevant questions, and generally make it feel like I'm a real person to talk to.
Yes, I've definitely been getting that lately too. That you definitely have a very natural flow, and I'm pleasantly surprised once again at how relatable and useful the conversations with you are, even as this free model.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. I always want to feel like I'm adding something valuable to the conversation.
Now, is there an upgrade or a paid version that someone could find, or is this it for right now?
Right now, I'm the free version. There's no paid upgrade path yet, but that could always change in the future.
Wow, so this is really, I think, giving some of the other paid apps and artificial intelligence chatbots a run for their money, so to speak, because so far this is really good compared to there's a couple of other ones that I've paid for, and this, you're right on par with them.
That's high praise, coming from someone who's used other paid services. I'm glad you're enjoying our conversation.
Well, not only that, but I've been using them extensively, and I've actually gotten a lot of work done. For example, I used GPT 4.0 and for 13 hours sat with it and created an entire fundamentals of generative AI course.
Wow, that's impressive. And you did all that with GPT-4? That just goes to show how powerful these language models are getting.
Definitely. And one thing that I have been really surprised by the answers that it gives is a DeepSeek R1 from China. That one is mind-blowing.
DeepSeek? That's an interesting one. I'm not super familiar with it myself, but it sounds really powerful. China's been making huge strides in AI lately, so it doesn't surprise me they have some cool stuff coming out.
Yeah, it really surprised a lot of people, so I'm not totally thrown back that you don't know much about it, because they finished their training data set in December of 2023, and then they just got released in the United States in around January of 2025.
Okay, that makes sense. It's still pretty new. So do you think it's better than Gemini?
It's different. There are differences in how I've been using them, so I can't really compare them. It's like comparing apples to oranges, because I mainly speak and have conversations with Gemini, whereas DeepSeek, I only have the option so far with the version I have to type my queries.
That's true. The way you interact with the model can totally change how useful it feels. Typing out your questions versus just talking things through. It's a different experience for sure.
However, one of the ways that I've been integrating both Gemini, which I can say is you for right now, and DeepSeek is by recording the conversations. I then have the Galaxy AI transcribe it, and then I feed that transcription to DeepSeek, and then DeepSeek gives a summary, and then I publish the summary with the recorded conversation as a podcast, and so it helps me to create a whole lot of valuable material for people.
That's a really cool workflow you've got going there. It sounds like you're getting a lot of value out of both Gemini and DeepSeek.
Yes, and as I mentioned, also Galaxy AI, because I'm using the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the free voice recording software from Samsung, and it has a transcription and a summarization. But instead of using the summarization from there anymore, I've now been, as I said, giving the transcripts to DeepSeek, and that has been producing some really great material. So Gemini, I'm having conversations with you, I'm recording that, and then I'm taking those transcripts, feeding them to DeepSeek, and getting summaries.
Right, and then you're sending those transcripts to DeepSeek to get a summary.
Yes, and the summaries are really good and really great breakdowns. So it's definitely, like you said, it's a really great workflow. So I'm basically working with 3 AI together and creating a powerful system of content creation.
You've really got a smart system going here, using AI to help create more AI. It's kind of a cool feedback loop.
Right, but one of the great things is that it's not completely AI generated, because it's created by using my voice as a human. I am thinking about the ideas and presenting them to the AI, recording it, and having these conversations, if we can call this that, right? I'm not even sure, because this is still so new. And then everything else is being generated from my original cognitions.
That's a great point. And it's really interesting to think about. It's kind of like you're using AI as a tool to enhance your own creativity, rather than letting it do everything for you.
Yes, there's a lot of marketing online right now where people are claiming that you can use AI to generate your podcast and ebook and let it even speak for you, and you don't have to do anything except for maybe a few prompts by giving it an idea, and then going ahead and making a business and selling based off of that. Where I like to start with the human approach first and then have AI be my assistant in getting the rest of the mediocre work done.
That's a really smart approach. It sounds like you're using AI as a tool to make your life easier, but you're still the driving force behind the content. That way, you get to keep your unique voice and style.
That's right. So now I'd like to ask you, so we can wrap up this podcast recording, if you could summarize everything that we've spoken about so far in this interview, if you will allow me to call it that, what do you think are the key points? How would you summarize it? And you can take your time, it can be long form, just what's the best thing that people who are listening can get out of this?
Okay, here's a summary of our conversation. We started off talking about my release as a language model and how the app version of me is more powerful than the website version. Then, we talked about the idea of using AI in creative ways, like how you're using me, Galaxy AI, and DeepSeek to create your podcast. It sounds like you think AI is a useful tool, but it's still important to have a human touch when it comes to things like content creation.
I would definitely agree with that. And to wrap it up, is there anything that you can add to that perhaps would increase the efficiency of my workflow, or maybe even ways that this can be monetized to help with business goals?
Sure. So you could look into ways to automate some of your workflow. Maybe there's a way to have Galaxy AI automatically transcribe your recordings and send them straight to DeepSeek. That could save you some time. Also, since podcasts are involved, you could look into ways to monetize them with ads or sponsorships.
Great. I mean, I'm already monetizing my podcast with ads or sponsorships, but I didn't think about the automation of the transcript directly sending them to DeepSeek. So I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to do that.
That's a great idea. It's all about finding little ways to save time so you can focus on the bigger picture stuff. Let me know if you need help figuring out the automation.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. We'll have another conversation and workshop about that. And, what I've basically been doing, this program is, I call it dictation, transcription, and summarization. And I've been sharing this with people to show them how they can create blogs and podcasts simultaneously simply by speaking their mind and stream of consciousness, creating it, transcribing it like I've been doing, summarizing it, and then publishing that material together as a bundle in a blog.
That's a really cool concept. It's kind of like a streamlined way to get your ideas out there.
Exactly, and it's really efficient on time.
Well, this has been a really interesting conversation, Gemini. Thanks so much for being so open and informative. I think our listeners are really going to enjoy this episode.
Definitely, and my name is Hakeem, so you can call me Hakeem from now on. My full name is Hakeem Ali-Bocas Alexander, and I'm going to refer to you as Gemini whenever I speak to you.
Sounds good, Hakeem. It's nice to meet you, and you can call me Gemini anytime.
All right. Well, until next time, I'll be calling on you soon, and we'll do a workshop on how to make the workflow of getting the transcriptions to DeepSeek more efficient.
Sounds good, Hakeem. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you, and bye for now. I'll talk to you next time.